And then there is a third issue, which now confronts us, which is an issue on the foreign policy stage. Actually, it's not Afghanistan, but Afghanistan is part of it. You know, we are now living through one of those periods, frightening periods, turbulent periods, when power shifts. It happens once a century or so, but this is a shift of power, the like of which the world hasn't seen, I think, for 1,000 years. Two things are happening. Power is now being passed out of the institutions of the nation state, which are created to govern it and regulate it and bring it to the rule of law, onto the global stage, where by and large it is not subject to regulation and the rule of law. You think of all those powerful instruments that now exist on the global stage who take decisions unconstrained by national law, unconstrained by any regulation, unconstrained by any loyalties to any particular democratic process. But they can alter your lives. You think of the huge power of those who run the great money go-round, 50 times the amount of money that is necessary to fund the trade it's supposed to be there to support. And when that got out of control, the effect was an economic crisis, which we have just seen, which destroys livelihoods and jobs. These guys are outside the control of anyone. You think of the power of the transnational corporations who can take decisions with budgets larger than medium-sized countries and create great poverty in small countries in Africa, not just small countries too, and generate the very instability our troops have to go in to lose their lives to try and recreate peace. You think of the power of the satellite broadcasters, the power of the internet. You think of all of those people operating on the global stage, outside regulation and the rule of law. And of course, there are bad forces there too. Transnational criminals, transnational terrorism. It doesn't matter if you're the most powerful nation on earth. If you will not begin to bring the rule of law to the global space, then you will one day get terrorism visited on even your greatest cities, as we saw in 9/11, as they used the international systems of mass transport. You know, 9/11, Al-Qaeda in 9/11, 60% of the money that funded 9/11 actually went through the financial institutions of the Twin Towers that 9/11 destroyed. You see, there is a rule which we liberals understand. And the rule is this: where power goes, governance must follow. That's what drove the great 1832 Reform Act. If there is a phenomenon of our time, and it is the globalization of unconstrained power, then there's a challenge of our time, and that is to bring governance to the global space. Who will do that? Who will do that? Will Labour? Well, Labour's great internationalist credentials have been long ago lost, I fear. But it won't be the Tories either. This is a party more viscerally, more irrationally, more prejudicedly anti-European than any British political party has ever been before. These are little Englanders. We're about to get into government, if God help us. They win the election. Don't use, that's not my words. That's words of two senior Tories, the ones I respect most. One of them is the best Prime Minister, best Tory Prime Minister this country has never had, who said to me the other day, miserable, because he's now excluded, that his party was now more irrationally anti-European than any British political party had ever been before. And there's a second change happening. Power is now passing from the west to the east, passing from the shores of the Atlantic to the rim of the Pacific. You know, something really important is happening. I think we are beginning to see the end of 1,000 years of the domination of Western power, Western values, and Western institutions. If we are to do the things we need to do in our tiny world, in our fragile world, we're going to have to reach out to make new partnerships outside the circle, the cozy circle of our Atlantic friends. We're going to have to find the way and make the compromises to bring the Chinese and the Indians in. We're talking about the development of a multipolar world. Labour can't respond to that. And the Tories and the little Englanderism never can. You see, what you need is a political party which has got internationalism in its creed. We have, in the marrow of our bones. I'm often reminded of that great speech of William Ewart Gladstone's of 1879. We were fighting a war in Afghanistan too then. And by the way, he was fighting an election. And by the way, he was leader of the opposition. And by the way, he was very old. Maybe there's a chance for me yet. He stood up to the people of Britain and he uttered those immortal words: "Do not forget that the sanctity of life in the hill villages of Afghanistan amongst the winter snows is no less inviolate in the eye of Almighty God as can be your own. Do not forget that he who made you brothers in the same flesh and blood bound you by the laws of mutual love, and that love is not limited to the shores of this island, but it passeth across the whole surface of the earth, encompassing the greatest along with the meanest in its unmeasured scope. Oh, for a Prime Minister of that moral standing today. But here's the point. That internationalism that was so much part of Gladstone's creed, for him it was a moral necessity. For us, it's an equation for survival. And only your party, only the Liberal Democrats, carries that as part of our belief.